those of you who don't like Mondays, good news, it's Tuesday. But next Monday, you can, with the help of the current Miss South Africa, combat the blues. Shudufadzo Masida has, in conjunction with the South African Depression and Anxiety Group SADAG, launched Mindful Mondays on her Instagram platform, and she joins me now to tell us all about it. Thank you so much for joining us. So, you launched last night with a chat to clinical psychologist Samo Mbele. Tell us how it went. What kind of response did you get?
Last night was absolutely amazing because I didn't expect to get the response that we did. But throughout the live, people were engaging, people were sharing their stories. And even today, people are just saying thank you for opening up that conversation, where it's a safe space for people to say it's okay to not be okay, it's okay to seek help, we're going to direct you to the right resources. Because for most people, they didn't even know that SADAG offered resources for them to get help, you know. So it was such an informative and insightful session. And a lot of people have been giving us very positive feedback, and looking forward to the next week.
You know, it's such an important time to be launching a platform that deals with mental health. Generally, there's a stigma around talking about your mental health status, but at a time like this, when we're going through a pandemic and in and out periods of lockdown and isolation, great uncertainty about what the future holds, I would imagine that the state of mental health of the average South African is not that great.
No, it's not. It's not. The number of callers that they get SADAG has doubled since lockdown started. The mental health issues have exacerbated due to COVID-19. People have lost jobs, livelihoods, loved ones. I think the anxiety of just seeing rest in peace every day on social media has gotten to people, and they need that sort of space and that opening to actually start speaking about their feelings, start speaking about their mental health. And what we were speaking about yesterday was mental wealth, where we are encouraging people to invest in their mental health, opening up a space for questions that they may have had and didn't have answers to, but just also showing that you're not alone, because most people think the feelings that they may feel are just them, but then we are all in this together. And in order to rebuild our nation, it's important, and it's very important for us to engage in these conversations.
Now, you indicated when you were crowned Miss South Africa that focusing on mental health was going to be a big point of campaign for you, partly because I believe you were bullied as a child. Just tell us how that experience as a child has affected you even through adulthood, and why mental health is such an important topic for you.
Bullying is it's a very lifelong act. It may last a week, it may last years. For me, it lasted 6 years of bullying, and it affected my self-confidence, how I looked at myself. I couldn't even speak in front of people before Miss South Africa, by the way. So I would stand in class, and when I'd have to say a speech, for example, I start itching, I start sweating, because it just felt like, what if I mess up and then I get bullied again? So that stays with you, where you're in a constant motion or state of trying to fit in so you don't get bullied again. So it messes with you and how you develop as a person. Thankfully, I read a book in 2017 called The 4 Agreements that told me to not take anything personally, and that the people that bullied me, it was not a reflection of me, but rather a reflection of them. And as soon as I understood that, there was a shift in how I looked at bullying and how I looked at mental health. Yes, the effects are enormous, but at the same time, there is a silver lining to know that you're not alone. So many people have gone through bullying and they've come out on the other side. And to people that are going through bullying right now, I know it's easier said than done to say don't take things personally, to say that it's a them and not a reflection of you. But you will get through it, and it is really not a reflection of you. You are stronger than you think.
And you are testament to the fact that not only can you get through it, but you can triumph. I wonder what adult Shudu would say to young Shudu today, because I think it's always so useful to look back at how we were as children and the things we battled with, and to realize that we did overcome them.
In all honesty, I think what I'd say to myself, or my 9-year-old self, particularly my 10-year-old self, because I remember standing on the quad when I was 10 years old and just thinking to myself, where will I be in the next few years if people keep on telling me that I'll never be good enough? And I want to tell her that you're enough, you're more than enough, because when people bully you, they take away the self-worth that you feel, and the self-love. So you have to rebuild that, grow into loving yourself again, and look in the mirror and say that you're more than enough and I love you. To look at yourself in the mirror and say I love you at least 3 times is more than enough. So it takes, I would tell her that she's more than enough.
Now, next Monday on your Mindful Monday platform on Instagram, you're going to be looking at teen suicide, because I think it's Teen Suicide Prevention Week. Of course, it's also going to be the first day of the government school year, so it's a really tough time for our kids. What are you planning for next Monday? What is your message to teens who are feeling isolated, bullied, or just afraid of what this year holds?
Suicide is currently the second, from the stats that I have, the second leading cause of death, people aged 15 to 29. So the conversation next week absolutely imperative, and especially with the new year, and still we're still in lockdown, so schools and how we used to look at life and how we used to look at going to school is different now. We live in a constant state of anxiety of whether or not you're going to catch the virus while trying to retain your education. So I think that conversation next week is important for especially teens to know that you're not alone, children to know that they're not alone. An interesting fact that came up yesterday, or rather a story that came up yesterday, was Zamombele talking about how he treated a 2-year-old, and it starts as young as 2 years old or even younger, with mental health. And I imagine now with the stresses of school and the stresses of trying to stay afloat and be okay under these circumstances. So to the new matrics and everybody going back to school, you're not alone, and we're going to engage in the conversation next week, and you're going to get more insight into realizing that there are resources available for you if you do need the help.
I want to thank you so much for talking to us this evening. It sounds like such a wonderful initiative, and I would encourage everyone to check it out. Thank you very much. That's, of course, Miss South Africa, Shudufadzo Masida, and you can find her Mindful Mondays on her Instagram platform on @Shudufadzo Masida. You can check it out on Instagram. Still ahead, we've got